The artistic choice of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is one of the many things why this manga is widely known about in the community. From the flamboyant poses and the stylistic color choices, Hirohiko Araki knows how to attract people into his manga's artwork in every domain. What really impresses me a lot about Araki's work is the transformation of his art from the 80s with Phantom Blood to JoJolion, which is currently ongoing. The evolution is amazing, and today I'll be talking about the many different things that changed Araki's art style and the height of which it has taken him to. If you do enjoy some JoJo content, go ahead and comment some more video ideas for the series. So right before I get into the video, subscribe if you haven't, hit the like button, turn on bell notifications, and go ahead and follow my Twitter down below. Now without further ado, let's get into the video. So Araki's first stylistic choice was put into full force in the first part of JoJo, Phantom Blood. The first couple of chapters in this part had more simplistic character designs with nothing too out of the ordinary. The movements of the characters put into the drawings looked amazing for a first part though, but Araki was already pretty experienced with drawing manga even before making JoJo. As the part went on, it started to resemble an older manga before this one, which was Fist of the North Star, a manga that influenced Araki's Phantom Blood journey. The character design started to pop out a lot more, looking more unique than the past simplistic design choice Araki had done at the start of the part. This new transformation of design started Araki's signature buff and muscular art style that would go on from parts 1 to 3. As part 1 went on with this art style in the manga, the fight started to get a lot more detailed and engaging. Most part, it wasn't like that most of the time. As we then dive into part 2's primary art style, we see Araki's faces changing in this part from part 1. They look more detailed from the last part's simplistic faces, and the expressions that are shown are easy and very entertaining to read. This part is also where Araki's signature poses start to show up a lot more, with the Pillarmen being Battle Tendency's primary antagonistic group, and them showing off some ancient Aztec vibes as well. But another thing this part is able to show off with the Pillarmen is their bizarre movements and abilities they're able to do, like going into other people's bodies and literally changing their insides. When we are shown this, it takes a while to work out what is happening with the black and white panels combined with the bizarre movements, but it does get a lot more readable as the part goes on. In part 3, we see Araki's character designs looking more cleaned up from the last two parts. It keeps the same signature muscular style, but it's a lot more easier to read, and with the now additional POW system being stands, it looks amazing in this fashion. The stand fights look smooth and clean while the characters keep that as well, but have a more intimidating look to show to the readers what a serious journey they're on. The absurd structures of the characters and the dark palettes really make this part's art really engaging to read. Part 3's art style is easily my favorite from the first 3 parts' buff and muscular look. As we evolve into part 4, Diamond is Unbreakable's art style, we first see the same old muscular designs in the first couple of chapters. Josuke at first does not look like the typical 16-year-old boy, with Araki trying to display the same art style he had from the first 3 parts in DIU. He slowly tries to stop this in the first couple of volumes, making Josuke seem less intimidating, as this part is actually the most tamest JoJo part, so we wouldn't need a dark and intimidating fashion in a story like this one. It's also a part that is more upbeat and colourful than the last ones. As the part goes on, we start to see the transformation of character designs. As Araki tries this, the characters start to get more slimmer and less large as we start to slowly evolve into an art style that Araki will use all the way to the current chapter of JoJolion. The characters still look muscular, but the sizes of the muscles have shrunken instead of characters having tires for shoulders like we saw in Stardust Crusaders. Another thing that this part is capable of is making the stand fights and movements more smooth and fluid, making the manga a lot more readable. In part 5, we start to see the results of Araki's new art style in change, with the slimmer outlook being the primary go-to style Araki has chosen for JoJo now. The insane and bizarre poses start to show up a lot more consistently in this part, making it more surreal and appealing to the eye. This part also consists of the best stand fights JoJo has to show, and the way Araki conveys them is in a gruesome way that really shows the brutality of Golden Wind. The double spreads start to appear more, showing the capability of Araki's paneling, and it goes very well with him giving out spreads like these ones. Overall, some big changes were shown in this part, with Araki showing us more brutal stand fights and him showcasing the larger panels that consisted of fluid drawings. As we go into part 6, Stone Ocean, Araki still keeps the slim character designs while changing up the character faces, with the expressions popping out even more now. The 2-page spreads and the background settings are consistently amazing in this part, while the insane movements of the stands are shown in this part to become really fluid in them as well. We see this mostly around the end of the part with stands such as Made in Heaven showing us some great spreads. Another thing that is more primary in part 6 is the detailed body horror that is shown in the part. It is some of the most grueling and out of pocket stuff that you can see in even something like JoJo. This panel, for example, always makes me shiver. It's just so uncomfortable to see, and Araki had tried to do stuff like this in part 5 as well, with both of these parts giving us some of the most brutal panels shown in JoJo. So in part 7 is where we get to see the payoff of all of Araki's changes put into one part. Steel Ball Run by far gives us some of the most realistic panels, not just in JoJo, but in manga as a whole. The facial designs are on a whole nother level, and the details that are presented look so clean, and it amazes me every time I look at them. This part is pretty mature as well, with JoJo now being in the seinen category, with its debut in Ultra Jump being part 7. Now being in a seinen magazine, Araki was able to go to his full-on limits, giving us some strange movements, but making them really compelling to read, with him giving it his all in the drawing category. The landscapes, character designs, and overall the paneling all look amazing, and this is just the best part in both story and art. For JoJolion, the 8th part of JoJo, we see Araki's current capabilities of a mangaka, and I can say that he's still able to give us some slick, fluid panels consistently in this part. The insane brutality comes back in this part as well, and this time in seinen format, giving Araki more ways to shape and detail the structure of his work in ways that look bloody and gory in a seinen part. This part also gives us the style Araki has realized he wanted to do, with him keeping to it and being really consistent and true to the art style ever since the big change in part 4. Overall, the large evolution of JoJo's manga art style is a sight to see, and it's great to view how far Araki has come ever since his first JoJo part in the 80s. With him finding his new sense of style and trying all sorts of things with it is amazing to see. The uniqueness, bizarreness, and strangeness of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure would never be a thing without Araki going through his great drawings. Hopefully you did enjoy the video, and if you did, make sure to go ahead and comment some more JoJo video ideas for future videos. So like always, subscribe if you're new, hit the like button, turn on bell notifications, and go ahead and follow my Twitter down below. It's been Endless Requiem, peace.